If we're virtual, do we have to stand up for the pledge?
We have been doing that. Hello, John.
Hello.
If you can sit a little closer, it's just that we've got it zoomed in so people can see you better.
Is someone sitting here?
Yeah, that's Chad. If you want to go on that side, that's perfect. We can see
Judy,
it.
you're live.
Okay, we're live.
All right, I'll give you guys a minute to get settled.
That's just the Zoom notification.
Yeah, and if you can see it, if anyone else tries to pop in, you're probably not expecting anybody.
No, no.
Okay.
Dennis,
Yes.
can you hear me? I like
Yep.
your facial hair. I haven't seen you with a beard before.
Oh, well, this is my winter beard.
Looks good.
Real,
Looks
real
good.
northern Michigander from now until March.
All right.
Do you need some help?
Is this the right spot?
For what?
But thank you.
Polls?
No, that's downstairs.
And Jeff, looks like you're having a very
So-
good hair day.
Go out the door, go right down that door, right there, and go down the stairs.
Getting long, I need a haircut.
You look like you need a haircut to me.
Okay, I think we're all settled, right? Okay, I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Leelanau County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority to order and do a roll call. Dennis Boucher,
Here.
Rick Foster,
Present electronically.
John Ahrens,
Here.
T. F. Texadias.
That was close.
Yeah.
Here,
Sorry.
we have to have
Janik
Here.
and Patricia Sodas Little. Here. Director Trudy Gala is here. We are all present. So we can, Chet, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance since you are closest to the flag, please?
I'd be honored to. Oh, here it is. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America. And
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we are at the consideration of the agenda. I do not know of any needed changes or alterations. Is there anything that you recommend, Trudy?
Nope.
So we can have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So move.
So moved by Foster, support by Boucher. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Trudy, do I need to do a voice call or roll call?
You can do it by hand if you want, that's fine.
Okay, so
So
raise your,
clarification, if the vote is not unanimous, then you should do a voice call. If it's unanimous, then it's fine.
okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the consideration of the August 28th meeting minutes.
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion by T, a second by Chet to approve the minutes from August as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous, so that passes. Public comment. There's no one on Zoom, is there? Then there's no one present, right, Trudy?
Correct. You do need to announce the phone number if anyone's listening and wants to call in.
Okay, the number is 231-256-8109. If anyone calls in, we'll jump back into public comment. But meanwhile, we'll go on to director comments.
Just real quickly, an update on the MAP conference presentation. It was a taped presentation that Jeff Hawkins, Sabina Martin, and myself conducted. And then it was presented to the Michigan Association of Planning. It's about 1 hour and 16 minutes long. We were not able to do it live. They did about half the sessions taped and half of them live. And so if there's any interest, we can see about playing that here at a later date if you'd like to. I think it went over very well. We have not gotten any comments back yet. We don't know how many people actually watched it, but overall I think it was very well done.
I did watch it, and I went to that conference, and I have to say it's the best session I went to because of the practical tips and ideas that were constantly flowing out of all three of the presenters on what communities can do. A lot of times presentations are just about what I did and my community did, but you guys presented what your communities do, but also tips that people could translate into take home and actually do some work in their own community. It was very well done. And I think it would be a great suggestion to include at some point on our agenda, or somehow, have everybody watch it on their own time. And also to even put it on the website. I think it would be a great link if you can, keep that and put that on the Brownfield website.
Okay, I can follow up with MAP and see if that's something that they may allow us to do.
I heard it can solve insomnia too if you watch it.
Well, if it works for you, then see it's a positive thing.
Madam Chairman, was Jeff allowed to speak?
It's out of order.
Out of order, yes, thank you.
Okay, is there interest in the members to see this at an upcoming meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, I would, again.
Okay,
Yes.
Would it be
so
more
Trudy can keep
efficient?
that in her pocket for a lighter agenda. And we move on to our consent agenda. There's just 2 reports from Envirologic on the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions on that?
I did not.
I'll move that the 2 items on the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Seconded.
Who was the support?
I have John.
John.
Oh, okay. Motion by Chet, second by John, to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. That passes. There is no old business, so we move to new business. Number 1 being the EPA grant application, which was emailed separately. Is that Trudy or Jeff speaking to that?
Jeff.
Is it okay if I talk now, Chet?
Yeah, I think it sure recognized you. Yeah, and I have it on email.
Well, I'm not sure what to tell you other than I did try to send, I think I sent it out this weekend to everybody. I'm not sure anybody's had a chance necessarily to go through it. I can just kind of explain again the process. So this grant is due next Wednesday, October 28th. We're applying for an EPA Brownfield Assessment Grant application. And the maximum amount you can go after is $300,000. In this particular application, I'm suggesting that we ask for $200,000 just because I feel like, we had a little trouble spending it in the past. And I think for the size of our community and so forth, I just felt that, there might be a better opportunity for us if we don't go for the whole amount. It's very focused on conducting assessment work, basically trying to do those things to support projects. They'd like to see that very heavy focus and emphasis on that. As you'll note when you read through it, the application's morphed over the years from what they've asked for and so forth. We obviously have some sense of what we have from a brownfield perspective, inventory-wise in the county, so we can pretty much rely on that from previous work. I will tell you that we continue to include sites in this application that we've had in the past, just because they're still not done, such as Sugarloaf. I will say though that we have to demonstrate basically the target areas that we're working in. It's considered a community-wide application, meaning that you can use it anywhere in the county, but they really want you to demonstrate some target areas and target sites and be very specific about those sites, as well as plans for what the reuse is going to be. They also want to see the community involvement that we're going to have with the interacting with the various communities and the public. They want to see how we leverage these dollars with other funds that might be available. And we talk a little bit about sensitive populations. And to be frank, there's not a lot of diversity in Leelanau County. So from a standpoint of evaluating sensitive populations, we're very much focused in this one on seniors. The seniors do represent a significant population in Leelanau County. And there's evidence to the fact that seniors do have a greater risk to contaminants typically associated with brownfield type sites. So that's kind of the emphasis in this particular plan. We try to, I felt that the general plan that the county has in place is an excellent plan from a standpoint of outlining the desires of the community. It's very much sends a strong message with respect to trying to keep a balance between the environment, your natural resources, and basically some smart growth and economic development. I really tried to hang on that plan, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, that's what EP wants to see, is that you do have a plan in place that directs the decisions that you make as a community. And so we very much looked at how that plan fits from a standpoint of creating a sustainable economy, so to speak, and ensuring that we reuse infrastructure where it is. We we want to promote agricultural aspects of the community, as well as the natural resources and sensitive habitats and so forth. But then again, threaded in the application, a discussion about the need for affordable housing, and kind of I don't want to take credit for this. I think it was something that Trudy had in a previous application, but there is a fair dichotomy between the haves and the have-nots, so to speak, from a standpoint of disparity and income disparity. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's a reality. And I think that disparity, though, has definitely caused challenges with respect to the affordable housing and the ability for certain careers to be difficult to have those careers in Leelanau County and be able to afford to live.
Hello?
So from that standpoint, it's, we're trying to demonstrate how some of the economic development and things that can go on in the county would be helpful to try to narrow that gap. We've identified various community partners that hopefully would play a role in helping promote the brownfield programs. Other than that, we're about a page and a half long We used to be able to write these in about 18 pages, then they backed it off to 15, and now for the last couple of years, it's 10 pages. So we're having to really compress the information and be as succinct as we can. So I think there's some tweaking we can do. I know Trudy doesn't care for it, but we can compress the text a bit if we need to, but I'll probably have to pull. And I also have a technical editor on staff that she's pretty good at rephrasing things and shortening sentences and things like that. So
Brevity is the soul of wit.
take some of that off. What's that?
Brevity is the soul of wit.
So true. So other than that, that's kind of where we're at. And just, I guess, from a logistics, so you kind of get a picture of it. There's been a fair amount of, I know we're still working with the Leelanau County, there's a fair amount of electronic documentation that we have to make sure is all set up through the government website. This will be submitted electronically. That's really the only way they accept it. There'll be a cover letter, a 2-page cover letter that'll go with it, as well as what we call, there basically is a split is into threshold criteria and ranking criteria. The threshold criteria is only about a page long, but the threshold criteria basically demonstrates that you're an eligible community to apply, and has a few other basic items in it. And basically, once you pass, when they receive your application, assuming you pass the threshold criteria, then you're thrown into the hopper with respect to being evaluated on the ranking criteria, which is the 10-page narrative. We don't have to have support letters anymore, but we will be following up with probably sending a letter to the various partners that we've identified and just say, hey, here's a copy of the application. This is what we've, hopefully you're going to be willing to say something that you understand our program based on the application, and that you'll support the program if you ever get a call from EPA. And all the ones that I've done, I don't think I've ever had the EPA call one of these groups. So always a first time. So with that, if there's any questions, comments, any suggestions, thoughts, I'm happy to have that conversation.
I did read through it. Go ahead, Chet.
I'm sorry, the Board of Commissioners did authorize Trudy to submit the grant last week. So Trudy, what you need is a motion from this Brownfield Authority, correct?
Yes, and as Jeff mentioned, there's still work to be done to narrow this down. It's too long, and we wanted to make sure that the Brownfield members had input into this document. I know when we first brought this up several months ago, several members mentioned they wanted to, take a look at it and offer input and work on it. So this is the opportunity before we have to submit it next week.
Yeah, because the deadline is next week, right, the end of the month?
Yes, 28th.
Well, I would move that we authorize Trudy Gell to submit the grant on behalf of the Brownfield Authority pending her final review.
Support.
So we have a motion by Chet.
The county, because it's the county.
Okay,
that
on behalf of Leelanau County, I'll amend my motion to say on behalf of Leelanau County. And by this, it's been seconded, I believe, right, Madam Chair? All right, so this will give Trudy and Jeff opportunity to work on it and go forward without us having to meet again to review the final product. I have great faith in Trudy and Jeff's ability to finalize the details within the next week and proceed.
And who made that second?
It was a motion by Chet, second by T.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And is there any other discussion?
Only that, not for the motion, but I have some suggestions and a couple of questions about the application, but not on the motion.
Okay, is that something you want to go directly to Trudy and Jeff with and work with them on?
I could, it's not much, but I can discuss it, after we act on the motion.
Okay. Rick, did you have some comments?
I guess mine is more of a question. I suspect one has to be redundant in this because of the character of the application in different segments. But if this were a literary piece, you would probably want to give complete details about each of the properties that you're focusing on once, instead of big pieces of it scattered throughout. But I suspect you're answering specific questions on the form of the application in each section that aren't apparent in the draft. That's all. From a literary point of view, it is very redundant and therefore doesn't flow as well as it might.
I'm gonna let Jeff respond to that.
I think it's an excellent observation. You're correct. You're right on. It's a struggle to put these things together, and every time I've done them, and even with the successful grants that we've been able to do, you have to be redundant to the point that it drives you nuts, because every time, I think what we're finding is that the reviewers apparently don't, even on a 10-page document, don't have the capacity to retain the information as they're proceeding through the application. So you have to continually repeat it to the point of ad nauseum. So it does chop it up, and it doesn't flow like I'd like to see it. But you're correct. It's a challenge. You got to repeat.
And furthermore, you have to address all of the ranking criteria. So you have to bring up the same information. And since we're discussing, might as well give you a couple things. Jeff, you said something about no support letters are needed. Isn't one needed from Eagle?
Oh, sorry, you're correct. And we have that already.
Okay, you got it. Good. And also the cover letter is a good opportunity to, I'm not sure whether the cover letter is read by the reviewers of the ranking criteria, or does it stop, or is only reviewed by the initial reviewer. I can't remember how they handle the cover letter, but the cover letter is an opportunity to summarize some things and that you cannot put in the application.
Correct.
I think you've done a good job trying to put all of this in 10 pages. I stopped at 18 pages. I haven't done any applications since then. And it's very difficult to include all of that. And I think you've addressed everything. As you noted earlier, your technical editor could combine and abbreviate, not abbreviate, but combine some sentences. I went through the whole thing, and I identify a number of areas where I think there are opportunities to cut down words. I mean, even one sentence or even one sentence can start cutting down that 1.5 page that you are over. There are also a number of places in the application where a sentence ends in the middle of the line.
Yep.
And by just moving few words or removing a couple of words, you lose one of those excess half-used lines.
And we haven't done that yet.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I figure you will eventually.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. I think my intent was to get it to you all as soon as possible
Sure.
so you could.
And I appreciate that. Couple items, in the description of the priority sites,
Mhm.
I think there is an opportunity to lose one or two lines there.
Okay.
Then combined sentences in a number of places in section 2A and 2A in the community need.
Mhm.
Again, I think there is some opportunity to reduce the text in the table of the partners. That takes a lot of space.
Yeah, it does.
And I think you may want to consider, with Judy, how to reduce that table, the length of that table, maybe move some organizations that even though everybody has a role, I think you can concentrate maybe on some key ones, again, in an attempt to cut down the size. And then in the under organizational structure, the qualifications of the manager. Again, I think there is an opportunity there to take some words out, couple lines. The one item that I was a little surprised is I thought that there was going to be more emphasis on the agricultural issues, and I only saw that in a couple places. Was that a change in the approach then? Because this is pretty standard assessment, multiple site assessment application.
Yeah, and I think what happened there, T, was that when I was doing my research to kind of come up with my hypothesis that I was looking at, I could find anecdotal information,
Okay.
but no quantified information associated with the agricultural aspect of things from a standpoint of chemical use and so on and so forth. It just or areas where there's been spills or contamination and so forth. I know a few that I know about them, but I haven't even been able to see any records from Eagle on it. So
Okay. Yeah.
it got to be a point where I couldn't make a case for it.
Okay. Yeah. I figured that maybe what happened. Jeff, what do you hear from other communities in the state? How many applications are going out? Approximately.
I don't
20
know.
or 40 or 50?
Well, I would say probably more on the order of 50, somewhere in there, probably.
Okay.
Thinking. Yeah. I know that. And I probably could call Ron Smedley. Sometimes he posts that, but it's usually not till a little after the grants are submitted.
Yeah.
That he
Okay.
lists who's submitted. But I mean, you're looking at probably 800 applications nationwide.
That's about right.
That's a lot of applications. And
So 10% will be awards approximately. So our chances are small, but if you don't try, you don't get it.
that's right.
Yeah. No,
Right.
Overall, it's a good job, and thank you for doing that. And so I don't have anything else, Kathy.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any comments on this? Other than how difficult it is going to be to chop a page and a half out of there?
Oh, I probably wouldn't have sent it out. I guess I should have given you the impression that I think with what T was talking about and suggesting, which we were going to do, I'm not that worried about it. I think I can take a page and a half out of there pretty easily.
Okay.
Good.
If there's no more discussion, I will call the vote. All those in favor of Chet's motion to adopt on behalf of Leelanau County and submit this application,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passed unanimously. Then we go on to our next new business item, which is our 2021 budget. Page 11 to 16 of our packet. I want to note that this budget does include $10,000 of paying back to the county, the money that we owe, the Brownfield Authority owes the county from our startup support from the county. So that will, that's up for discussion. That is not a required amount. It's not required to be done this year, but in discussing this with Trudy and I, we wanted to put something in the budget so it would open up the discussion on how we want to approach that debt and what kind of payback period we want to envision, and we can adjust it going forward, but what do we want to do for this next fiscal year?
Are we paying interest on
No.
that debt?
No,
Oh, so drag it on, huh?
Well, we have been dragging it on, so now we want to do something a little bit more about it. Trudy, do you want to review anything else on the proposed budget?
okay, just real quickly, starting on page 11 of your packet, at the top you'll see the revenue and you'll see the TIF dollars that are spread out here for each one of these projects. I think we're pretty accurate on these based on what we've seen coming in the past. As far as our expenses, we don't have a lot of expenses in here. Generally, our expenses come from a grant that we get, and then we put that out into contractual and personnel costs. So we don't have anything listed in here yet, and we have very little as far as any supplies. We did put in, as Kathy mentioned, $10,000, wait a minute, let me get to the bottom of page 12. So we do have $10,000 in there for general services contractual, that's budgeted, that's not actually out in a contract yet, but that's an amount we put in there for possible contractual items. And then going on to page 13, we do have some travel listed and some education, and that would be for the EPA conference, the Brownfield conference that's held next year. A little bit for printing and publishing. And then down at the bottom of page 13 is where you see our repayments. So the $25,000 one, which is the second from the bottom on page 13 of your agenda packet, that is the payment that's going to Eagle, to the state, for the Leland site. So if you look at 2020 amended budget, it's just over $42,000. And as you know from our last meeting, we redid that with Eagle, and they approved a smaller amount and less interest paid. So then the next item is the $10,000 that would be paid back to the county. We owe $100,000 back to the county, and if we just look at the payment, we're saving, I think it's about $17,000 a year. We're putting $10,000 of that back to the county for payment. We could pay more next year if it works out, but I put in a $10,000 amount just to be kind of safe there. And then going on to page 14, it just balances out what our expenses and our revenues are. And then the next budget is the Fund 230, the EPA revolving loan fund. That's all zeroed out. It stays on our books, but we don't have that anymore. And then the last budget on page 15 is GASB. We don't touch this. This is something that's done between the treasurer and our auditors, so we don't touch that. And that's basically it. There's not a lot in your budget.
Any comments on the budget? keeping in mind that we do adjustments as needed. And we, if we end up getting a $300,000 grant, a $200,000 grant, we will adjust the budget.
Do you need a motion?
We do. We need a motion to accept the budget either as amended or as presented.
So moved.
Second,
Again,
So we have a motion by Tia, second by Dennis to accept adopt the budget as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Shouldn't that be roll call if it's financial? Aye, but normally,
Check to Trudy. Trudy, should we take a roll call on this?
No, it's only for resolutions.
Okay.
It's not required, it's your option. Any member has a right to request a roll call vote.
Okay, so that motion passes then. And then we move on to our financials. Now, this is a motion that we make each year to accommodate for the end of year transfers in the budget needed to balance the budget. And Trudy, thinking ahead, as she always does, because she's a good planner, is saying that we may not have much activity for meetings the rest of this year. So if we make this motion now, there's no reason we would need to meet just to make this motion before the end of the fiscal year. So the motion would be for the Director Gala to work with the county treasurer and the accounting department on any year-end budget adjustments and/or transfers, and to authorize the county treasurer and accounting department to make any necessary year-end budget transfers, adjustments and/or transfers.
so moved.
second,
Okay, so that was a motion by T, and Dennis had his hand up first for a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
So that motion passes as well. We go on to our financials. And that is also in our packet. So Treasurer, Rick, do you want to make any motions on this?
Find it first.
just looking at it.
Page 18 of the packet.
I'm not quite certain how. I jumped from 17 to 19 when I printed. And
Oh, okay.
my printer was doing strange things this morning.
So the total claims and accounts is $1,067.50.
Yeah. I move approval of claims and accounts.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A motion by Tia, second by Patricia, who had her hand up first, to approve the claims and accounts in $1,067.50. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Okay, that motion passes. Trudy, there's no post audit, correct?
Correct,
And no budget amendments and transfers this month.
correct.
So we are on to the last correspondence communication item. Trudy put this in our packet.
Yep, just so that you have it, so we've taken care of cleaning that up and putting a new date on it for you.
Okay, this is a changes we made last meeting.
Correct.
So that's just for information purposes. We don't need any action on that. Any public comment? Again, the public comment phone number is 231-256-8109. And again, if anybody calls in, we will stop the meeting and listen. Director comments.
Nothing further.
Any member comments? Patricia has something.
Just yesterday, had a meeting with some of our Leelanau Peninsula Economic Foundation board members and Yarrow Brown. She was reviewing their changes and what they're looking at moving forward in terms of the platform for Housing North. Fascinating. They've added some new things since Sir Lucas started, and Yarrow has definitely added too. Moving forward, I know she met with the Planning Commission, and I was just wondering if it might be useful to have a joint Zoom meeting between Land Bank and Brownfield and invite her to present what she did yesterday, because it's quite interesting looking at ways in which we could join with their efforts to increase affordable housing. They're talking about utilizing Brownfield and a number of different other topics. So just a suggestion if we find ourselves needing an agenda item or just if there's interest.
I like that idea. I think anytime we can have a synergistic effect on the community and know and keep in the back of our head how all these factions play together and support each other, it would be very helpful for all of our work. I think, Trudy, you could keep that on the potential agenda item list for a slow month.
I did ask Yarrow, and she did say she'd be happy to do that if we wanted it.
Any other comments on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for putting this grant application together. It's a lot more work than most of us think it is. And it's very difficult, very time consuming. And so thank Trudy and Jeff and whoever else has been involved in that.
Thank you, T. It's difficult, time consuming, and you forgot frustrating.
It comes with a job sometimes.
Right.
Frustration. Yeah.
Well, you should be fortunate that you have a pretty nice community to live in. I mean, you don't have some of the problems that others do as much as you think that you have problems.
And hopefully the APA people, when they review this, they will not misinterpret the, that divide in, the economic disparity.
Yes.
Because it's hard to explain the what the social impacts are on that, and so
it is hard, which brings us back to the housing picture too. It has the same hurdle to overcome. Thank you for bringing that idea forward too, Patricia. Any other member comments? Rick?
I like the idea of having a presentation with the land bank and the Brownfield focused on what we can do when we work together to help create workforce housing.
Great. Yeah,
I would strongly support that.
Thank you. All right. Hearing nothing else, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Rick, second by Patricia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Jeff.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Call your congressman.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Well, good to see you too. Somewhere.
Yeah. It's a start, right?
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt.